Over the last few weeks, my videos have been reaching a bigger audience than I normally get, so I just want to take a second before this video starts and say thank you all for the opportunity to talk with you guys today. Also, I know some of you guys are hurting right now and thinking of harming yourself, and it is really the goal of this channel to get you on the healthy and safe side of life. Now, if that happens to be you, I've got something for you at the end of these videos. It's called The Message of Hope. It's completely optional content, and it's really just here for us to talk gamer to gamer about life, taking care of ourselves, taking care of our mental health, our physical health, and our spiritual health. But now let's get into the reason why you actually clicked on this video in the first place. We're going to be talking about how Gamergate 2.0 has been a complete and total victory for gamers here in 2024. The fight is not over. This is going to be another long battle before we see the industry correct. We're going to talk about that here in this video. And I just want to be clear. I do not believe that the majority of people on the other side in this fight are evil or less than us in any way. I just think that they've been lied to over and over again, and to me this is very clear when I read something like this from Alana Pierce, who writes, trying to wrap my head around MAGA supporters who still think that they're the underdog victims somehow. In the US, now you have the president, the House, the Senate, the largest transitional media outlet that isn't even close, all the top podcasts. You are the establishment. And I'm going to push back on what Alana's saying. We don't identify as victims. That's actually a big part of the problem. I think the other aspect here is you had the top podcast, you had all of those things. And because of your rigidity to, if you do not follow the message to its, nth degree, then we're going to kick you out. And so the left has seen so many people just get fed up and move further to the right. Basically, I would argue they haven't moved at all. The left has just gone so far that they have become and radicalized themselves. And so for those that are in the bubble, again, they're not bad people. I think that they've just been lied to over and over again. They believe all these horrible things, and it's going to take a lot of love on our part to really push back and break that up. Also, just as I was sitting down to record this video, we also had the breaking news that Alyssa Mercantile, I'm butchering her name not on purpose, but it is apparently no longer working for Kitaku, so it seems like she might be making moves to go work for Sweet Baby Inc. And so the victories, the W's, keep on keeping on. I think it's pretty clear that Gamergate 2.0 has had a level of impact that it just could not have predicted when this year started. For the longest time, we've all kind of known that there's been these issues. I've seen the videos posted by others, and I just couldn't fully understand or really get behind the message or the counter message really that was being pushed. But it wasn't until I saw how all of these websites, like in unison, omitted so much of the whole story that it all became abundantly clear, and all these questions that I've had were answered on that fateful day. But game development is a slow train. It's moving at a very slow pace, and it's going to take a good long while for it to fully self-correct. So what does this mean for the future of BioWare? Well, the news seems to indicate that they are already moving on from Dragon Age the Veilguard and putting an all-in focus here on Mass Effect 5. But here's the problem. This has caused some to be worried that Mass Effect will suffer because of this shift. These companies that have really embraced this worldview and their hiring practices are truly damned if they do and damned if they don't. If they can't come out and say that they're removing these politics from their marketing and from their departments without really truly upsetting the group that wants to spread their message through the medium of video games, there is going to be backlot. Now, this has obviously caused some to be worried about the future of Mass Effect, because if they just take the same politics and self-aggrandizing, preachiness into the next Mass Effect, well, I think the results are very much going to be the same. That's why I'm saying that this has been a complete and total victory, because it's now even rumored that Dragon Age has actually sold worse than Star Wars Outlaws, which just basically made 1 million units sold. That might sound like a lot for these games, but with budgets of over 150 million plus marketing, that does not even come close to recouping any sort of cost. And that's not why you spend that kind of money. If you just put that same amount of money in the market over the course of that decade, you would make double your money. Like, you double your money. That's what you're competing against. What other opportunities would I have out there? Now, I personally, if you guys saw the video, and many of you guys did, estimate the sales are between 1 to 1.5 million, but we're seeing lots of news about refunds. We're seeing a lot of news about this game, and I think it's going to go down as another go woke, go broke game, which continues to hit the high notes. Now, this just makes things like what you see Jason Schreier tweeting out that go broke, go broke top the charts truly doesn't fully comprehend just how big of a loss this is for BioWare, and honestly, a big of a loss for Dragon Age fans. We got to think of people who really made this franchise what it was, not just the creators, but the players of this game. Now, Paul Tassi going his way. I've seen this with the media so much, and it doesn't surprise me. Really pushing for that engagement, saying, advice for anti-Dragon Age Crusaders, you can just flip it now. It's not woke. It's a big win. Stars hot girl if you make one. Stars straight white male if you make one. Freedom to skip liberal plot lines. Allies with solace. President Trump metaphor to defeat evil. And this is the same kind of reporting that we've seen them when they were trying their best to save Concord. Now, the self-same media can't not seem to understand the core of the issue that is presented to them. And even if they did try to come to the table and understand, they'd just be kicked out, or worse, join the ranks of the Gamergate 2.0 movement. Maybe that they'll just refuse to see it, but maybe they don't want to see it and just don't care. And at the end of the day, gamers are done playing identity politics. Just make a great game. That is the only rule that is necessary. That is the ball game. Just make a good game. You can make it politics driven. You can do all these things. What we see, though, is that they put politics over gameplay. They put their message over making a good game. And that is why everybody is so pissed off. And still, it's interesting, as many who celebrated Dragon Age have all but fallen silent, as all of a sudden they start to learn that people aren't enjoying the game, and the gaslighting and astroturfing that will, just like we saw this week with the election, push more and more people back to the center, which looks like the far right for all of those who are deep into the woke culture. Not trying to throw shade at people who believe that Dragon Age was going to do well. Now, I'm not trying to throw shade at people who believe Dragon Age was doing well, but by now the data really shows that it is a massive loss for BioWare, which makes sense that they aren't actually doing anything else with this game. They're abandoning it and moving their entire focus to see if Mass Effect can save this sinking ship. And this going all in on Mass Effect, I actually believe is the right call, assuming that they can clean house. And so I do expect that we will see news about a round of layoffs coming probably within the next 3 to 6 months. But now I want to highlight a few comments that are going around the internet. Thought I would discuss them with you guys. So let's go. Mighty Keith tweets out, historically BioWare usually sells well. I'm sure Dragon Age Veilguard will also hit that mark with these numbers. Hell, even Anthem sold like 5 million. And then that controversy out the ass. And he is talking obviously about BioWare, and that's been the argument of Dragon Age Veilguard. That's been my interest in this game flat out, is that is there an established IP big enough that can truly cater, can truly like defeat the Gamer 2.0 boycott? And what we got with this one is, yes, it did sell, but it didn't clearly sell enough. And if you're comparing 1 million to 12 million, you can see that there is a massive gap, and that is something that they weren't accounting for. And now, why I like Infinite Umbra, like, he's a really cool guy. He's been on the podcast. He's tweeting out Dragon Age the W Guard. Grifter's going through it, trying to move the goalposts. That's really not what we're doing here. This is just numbers analysis when it's all said and done. The idea, though, that 84,000, 89,000 peak concurrent means that they're going to recoup those costs, that it doesn't translate like that. And we're seeing a clear and distinct difference between those who really try to push an agenda versus those who are just trying to make a good game. Endymion also highlights that there has been a lot of cancellations in terms of pre-orders and even refunds, tweeting it out that the number of pre-orders reported as well as the number canceled roughly equates to around 14 to 15% of Veilguard not being purchased, and that is most likely due to more gamers becoming more like engaged in the discussion. This isn't an argument to say that Dragon Age Veilguard shouldn't exist. They're free to make that game. We're free to inform the buying public what that game is about, and then the public is free to choose whether they want to support it financially or they don't. It's a simple market economics problem, and that's why go woke, go broke is such a strong phrase, because it truly is the market responding as well as educating itself. An informed buyer is a good buyer, whether they choose to opt in or out. It actually doesn't bother me one way or the other. Spend your money however the hell you want, because it's your money, and I don't want to control your life, nor should I. So you do you. But if I can help educate you on what's going on and you make a better buying decision that's right for you, then that is a victory. Stuttering Craig talks about video game journalism has become an echo chamber and it's pushing left-wing agendas, alienating gamers and hurting the industry. Here is how biased reporting has damaged the gaming media. And so that is, I think, what is the true story that we see here. When all of these shock things happen with Gamergate 2.0 or the most recent US election, it does call to mind that people are like, who's giving you this news? Who's giving you this information and this source? And I would honestly say, if you're surprised by what happened this year with Gamergate 2.0, if you're surprised by what happened in the United States just this week with the election, just question who's giving you your information. Not that they're wrong, and not that you're wrong. You know, like, it's, guess what? That's freedom, baby. But what I would just encourage you to is to question who is giving you information and seek out alternate sources of information, so that way you can get a well-rounded sense of what is happening and the biases that people have. Michael Legacy Killer HD tweets out, part of the problem with the Dragon Age discourse is people thinking this would bomb. It's an established franchise, and Inquisition sold 10 million plus copies. The question was more, will it reach those heights again? And I'm skeptical at that. And that is the perfect summary to it. Yes, it was going to sell. That's why I'm not, shy about the 1 to 1.5 million. But that's why we have to talk about development costs, and that is not it. That you don't spend $150 million to sell 1 million copies of a game, because there's no residuals that happens after the fact. You can see first-party studios doing that, because a first-party studio wants you to buy their console, and then every game sold on that console ever is that 30% markup that those stores get. So when it's said and done, BioWare just made a game, and from all walks of life and what people are responding with it, a game that has missed its mark financially. Whether you're enjoying it or not, honestly, that's up to you. If you're enjoying it, great. But if not, yeah, I think there's a problem here, and hopefully people more are waking up to it. All right, guys, let's shift over into our message of hope. This is what we do here with a focus in on your mental health. I think your mental health is deeply related to your physical health in to some respects. There's a lot of different factors out there, so I'm not trying to give you a one cure fit all to the things in your life that you need to focus in on. I generally speak to especially new people here about 3 practical things that you can build as a habit in your life that can help elevate the level of success that you're going after. And these are 3 simple tips. Everybody who's already been here and has hung out before them knows what I'm about to say. Make your bed, brush your teeth, and take a shower. Now, what I want you to do that is, here's the reasons. Making your bed literally will take 1 processing cycle every time you walk into your room. You don't even know you're beating yourself up. You don't even know that that's stealing your peace away. Do that and just see how it affects you. It's a small task, and when you set out to go and do that, you end up just getting a win. It's an easy win. That's where brushing your teeth and taking a shower, those are tasks. Go get those wins in your life. And then what you see happen is that brushing your teeth and taking a shower, you start to feel a little bit more human again. You feel like there's a weird thing, especially after our hard days at work, slaving away, like you don't even know that there's a smell to it that could be causing you more stress. So doing those things is a really good thing. I try to take a shower when I transition off of work into, being dad mode. And that's something that is just kind of these practical life hacks. There's so many, right? And we could spend all the next hour talking about ways that you can kind of hack your life. But what I'm trying to convey to you is there are actually answers out there. For me, it took 10 years of fighting to figure out what was wrong with me. And I hope you don't have to fight the next 10 years to figure it out. But just like I say, I literally cannot stress this enough. You're worth living for. You're worth being loved. And if you're having these dadgum dark thoughts, you're not bad for having them. Guess what? You're human. We all have these thoughts. They pop in. But that doesn't make it who we are. And that doesn't have to define our destiny. I want you to reach out to a close friend, because I tell you this with all sincerity. They would rather hear your story. They would rather hear your struggle than attend your funeral. So I encourage you, I implore you to fight for you and what you believe in and who you want to be. And it's possible. It's going to take some work. Let's not beat around the bush. But I think you can do hard work. You might have to train your body. You can rewire your brain. That's the most amazing thing. I'm a software engineer. I think about our hardware is our physical bodies. We got to take care of that. Our software is our mind, our processing. And that can also, we can download new software. We can really change how things work in our lives. And sometimes it takes a lot of work, and that's okay. But I can tell you right now that it's worth it. And I want you to choose to live. Now, we're going to wrap up this message, I hope, with a little quote from Louis Pasteur, who says, "A little knowledge of science makes you an atheist. In deep knowledge of science makes you a believer in God." And as a Christian, I'm not necessarily going to sit here and say that you should absolutely believe what I believe, but I want to just encourage you, especially if nothing else is working for you. I want to encourage you to do therapy. I want to encourage you to work out and do these practical tips. But if you're just miserable, I don't know, man, give God a chance, right? And here's how I did it as a former atheist. I went to work. I treated it almost like going to the gym, right? You're not going to get a six pack by just thinking like, maybe I'll go to the gym today or not. I don't know. But I sat down and said, you know what, God, I'm going to put in the work. I don't believe that you're there, but I'm going to trust that you're there. And I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to go to church. I'm just going to pray. I'm just going to do the work. And if you're there, show up. And he did. It took a while, but he did. And I can tell you, it felt like I was dying. It felt like my bones were on fire. It felt like I was being loved out of existence. It was such an intense experience that I'm grateful for. But when I think about it and remember it, it physically hurts me. It's wild. And God loves us all that much, but I recognize why it's an unsustainable feeling. I would have probably died had God not decided to close back up that veil a little bit in my life. Anyway, guys, I love you. God bless you. I'm rooting for you. And if you ever need anything and you don't feel like leaving a public comment, Discord and the DMs are open for you if needed. Anyway, like I said, God bless. Hopefully I'll see you in the next video. But until then, take care.